And welcome, Kiesha. I'm so happy to see you.
Thank you, Robin. Always a pleasure to be in your space. Thank you for having me and being a part of the Yoga Retreat for Women of Color and taking on this whole big kind of campaign to bring awareness to the 25 years that Maya Breuer has been bringing this retreat to women of color. So thank you very, very much.
You're welcome very, very much. And I'm really delighted to be included. So I'm going to get straight to the list of questions that I put together for you. And can you tell us about your journey into the world of yoga and what inspired you to become a yoga instructor?
Yes, and thank you for being so thoughtful with the questions that you came up with. And when I was looking over them this morning, because I avoided looking at them a week before you prepared me, but I avoided and looking at them, it really just kind of brought me down memory lane. Um, my story, my journey with yoga. I started practicing yoga in a yoga studio during grad school. I was in grad school. My husband was in undergrad. I was out of state, didn't really have much to do. Saw a flyer in regards to yoga and wound up going to a local yoga studio and had a Saturday morning practice that I would go to for quite some time until I wound up having my first son. And when I had my first son, we moved to North Carolina. Life shifted us, supporting my father who was ill at the time, and yoga completely went out the door.
Hmm.
Then after my father had passed, my mother started practicing yoga as a way for her kind of healing and grieving. And then I started to practice yoga a little bit more. And eventually a friend of mine, we were over dinner and she was like, "What are your 5-year goals?" And I was like, "Goals? Oh, please, no, no goals." But I had some goals written in my Franklin Covey planner. I don't know
Oh,
if you
okay. Yes, I've used one of those.
So when I flipped to the goals section, there was a Post-it note. There's a pink Post-it note, and I still have it to this day. And it said, "Become a yoga teacher." And I really,
Someone else wrote it?
no, I wrote it.
Oh, you had wrote
I
it.
wrote it. I
Oh,
wrote
okay.
it. Become a
Okay,
yoga
that was
teacher.
supposed to, okay, all right.
I can't tell you why I
I
wrote it,
hear
when
you.
I
I
wrote it,
hear
but I
you.
wrote it. And back then, as you know, Robin, what this is almost 15 years ago, there wasn't this proliferation of yoga where we had all these options. You might have read a book, went to a class once a week, that type of thing. So it wasn't really so mainstream where like becoming a yoga teacher was promoted, but the Post-it was there. So when she said that, I said, I guess that's what my goal is. And then from there, just life just started to shift completely. And I've been teaching yoga full time for about 13 years now. Yes.
Beautiful. So you're deeply involved in both teaching and training. How do you balance your roles as a full-time yoga teacher, trainer, studio coordinator?
Yeah. So to the last question, I've been teaching yoga full time for 13 years. So like the person that has a 40-hour work week, I have a 40-hour plus of yoga. And the balance comes two ways. One way is honestly, it's my lifestyle. Like everything in this home, when I leave the home, it all balances and reflects around yoga. But when it comes to the actual work, it is my community, my tribe that helps to keep things balanced. And I'll use this as an example. Grateful to be the co-director of the Yoga Retreat for Women of Color, but I am a lead yoga trainer for Core Power Yoga, which is like a full-time job. I have my own LLC where I have other teachers and teacher programmings, another full-time job. And then a husband and 2 children, full-time jobs. All of it I love, but at a certain point I realized I can't consume it all. So when we were planning this retreat, if you recall, I said, "Robin, it would be very helpful if you took charge with the whole marketing and promoting. It's your wheelhouse, it's your strong suit. I can definitely do it, but I'm gonna be staying up late night hours to get things done, and I might be half doing those things and not giving my energy to where it needs." So it is always tapping into my tribe and my community. So with Maya, I'm a co-director. We partner with my teacher trainings. I have a co-partner, Candace Jennings, who is always kind of the yin to my yang or the yang to my yin, depending upon how I am. And all of the stuff that I do with I Am Yoga, it's a model that I received from Maya, which is kind of each one teach one and dig into your community. So as I have these great ideas that I like to think I have, I kind of plan them out then I find the right people to execute them. It's like, this is a great idea. Yeah, I'll become president of this nonprofit. Great idea. But do I have time to teach classes for the nonprofit? No. But here are 5 amazing people that I know either through my own trainings or through my network of yoga that would be the right people for it. So how I create balance is tapping into community. And I have a dear friend named Kelly Palmer. And I remember probably 10 years ago, I said to Kelly, I don't want to do this all by myself. I don't want to do it all by myself. Yeah, I want to spread yoga to the community, but I don't want to do it all by myself. And looking back, I have not had to do it by myself. My friend Tam says that I'm, supported by the seen as well as the unseen. And I definitely believe in that.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And I can totally relate. So I Am Yoga offers various yoga classes and teacher training programs. What sets your yoga school apart from others, and what can students expect when they join your programs?
Yes, what sets us apart from others and others that I'm aware of. I've done multiple 200-hour trainings, 300-hour trainings with other people. I've facilitated in other people's training programs. So let's say from the 10 plus training programs that I'm aware of, how I can compare it would be the sense of community and the sense of connection. When I'm doing quote unquote connections with people about our teacher training program, what I always say towards the end is, you have access to me. You have access to Candace. You have access to all the people in our training program. It's not you sign up, you pay, and then you only see us on the set schedule. If you need us, reach out to us. Even if it's 2 years after our training program and you're like, look, I didn't learn this, or this is something new to me, help me, provide resources, or I'll come up with a whole training just for that person, and then invite other people through our training program to come into the mix. So that would be the biggest thing. Like, it really is hey, I know Robin Downs, and Robin Downs can help you with some yoga flavor if that's what you need. Or, hey, I know Candace Jennings, who knows about yoga and rehabilitating herself after back surgery. Hey, I know Dr. Kiesha Abraham, who is an Ayurvedic specialist. So very grateful again for the network and the tribe. But I think that would be the biggest thing, is we are outside of the curriculum, we're outside of the schedule, outside of the bounds. For the type A, it could be a little, oh my goodness, they're not going on the schedule. But eventually most of the type A's realize, wow, we shifted and pivoted from the schedule because whatever we were talking about deserved the time. It's not this set schedule. If Candace is talking for 3 hours about the chakras and it's supposed to be done, and then I come on and Candace still has more to share, or they have more questions, nope, you keep going. We can reorganize the schedule later on. We'll still get the materials we need, but let's really focus and hone in on this. Or pivot. So I love this. And one of our 300-hour group, Robin, I had this great idea that we were going to read the autobiography of a yogi. That was going to be the first thing we started off reading. People have heard it's a phenomenal book. Every yoga practitioner should read this book. So I had this outlined. Now I'm trying to read this book and I'm not getting very far with this book, right? Not getting very far with this book. But anyway, we have it set up. Our first session, first month, got it lined up. We start to watch the movie of it. And one of the participants said, why are we watching this movie? It is all about capitalism. It's about sexism. It's not about, the history of yoga. And what they did was they questioned what was packaged, right? What was packaged for the book or the movie. And right then and there, we actually talked about it. The whole group collectively talked about it, and we shifted and pivoted to another book based upon what the collective brought to the space. Them bringing in a different perspective about the accessibility of yoga, about honoring the history of yoga, and just looking at things from maybe a lens that, even with all of my experience, I hadn't considered, right? Yeah. So to me, that's like the big thing. It's like being able to shift and move based upon who's in the space with you.
I like when it clicked for me, my aha moment is when I traveled to India, really trying to understand and really trying to honor the culture. What they said was, take the yoga practice and interpret it for your people, And that's where my people got flavor, and we like interpret it for them so they can understand it in their way. So yeah, I appreciate that. I get it as well.
I do love that you said that, Robin, because that's the same situation for Maya, who you interviewed, where when she went to India, they said, go back and take it to your people, whoever your people is, whether it's people of color or people that live in your state, take it to your people. And on my journey, I had a yoga teacher do that to me as well, a gentleman named Mark Whitwell. Me, Maya, and a host of other people were at Kripalu for the Black Yoga Teacher Alliance Conference. And Mark Whitwell was there offering a scholarship training for some folks. And we were at the cafeteria eating lunch. And I told him about the yoga program that I had at the church. And this was pre-pandemic, a program that I had at a local church here in Charlotte. And his mouth just dropped when I just told him about, the families that come in and how we built this program. He said to me at the end, he said, you leave here and go teach your people. And I never took it as teach Black people, but teach your community. And ever since then, things shifted, and that's exactly where it's been. Right?
Yeah. So that's why we're doing what we do, because we understand that concept. And it's been a bit entertaining to me for some of the people who have a hard time understanding that concept, especially with yoga and hip hop. Oh, Robin, why you want to capitalize on a multi-million-dollar industry? I said, this has been me all my life. I'm just being who I am. I grew up in a boogie down, and this is how I express myself before there was ever any talk of capitalism. I'm still amazed how much hip hop has blown up. And you have a background in Asian studies and Eastern philosophy. How has this knowledge influenced your approach to yoga, and how do you incorporate it into your teaching? Kind of what we said, keeping yourself centered, but incorporating the ancient principles.
Yeah. Dr. Gil Parker, maybe last year or the year before, had said something that stuck with me about how you can't connect the dots forward, but you can connect the dots backwards. And looking back at the journey of these past 13 years of teaching full time, but 25 years with yoga, with my degree in Asian studies, learning language, connecting the dots back.
Yes.
Who would say that this brown girl, originally from Long Island, New York, who was transplanted to Greensboro, North Carolina, would one day put herself in a closet because she was mad because we moved from New York, right? I'm a New Yorker. You moved me down to the South. Would be mad, put herself in a closet and start reading books. And then from there saying, I'm gonna get out of the South, I'm going back up north. And I would go to this private, expensive college, a Catholic college, I'm not even Catholic, and went for a business degree, but had a passion with language. So I wound up studying Chinese. Wow. And then the situation with my husband being from Newark, New Jersey, he was still in school and I didn't plan to go back to North Carolina. And my company at the time paid for master's degrees. So I got a master's degree in Asian studies under the guise of a business, an international business certificate, right?
Wow.
And, so who would have thought that me with that degree, then working 10, 15 years in the business space, IT, technology, training, auditing, developing, traveling around the country, traveling around the world, would eventually then throw her hand up and say, I volunteer to leave my $100,000+ job to take a package and just trust. And what I trusted was I was going to sit back, Robin. I trusted that I was going to sit back, eat bonbons. At the time, Barbara Streisand, my favorite, female artist, had a movie out. I was going to go to the movies and watch Barbara Streisand by myself. But what happened, Robin? I started subbing classes, then I took over classes, and then I never stopped teaching classes. And I just got into this wheel of yoga, yoga, yoga. And then during the pandemic, when we had time to sit down and sit, that's when the teachings and the practice of yin yoga, which I quote unquote like to think I specialize in, that's when it really started to kick in. I was like, I can sit, I can hold, I can be in silence and lockdown on my own. And then I started to study yin a little bit more. And then it was like, wait, Taoism. That was my whole master's degree, Taoism.
Full
Then,
circle.
wait, Buddhism. Wait, I remember when I first got my first book from the Dalai Lama to now where I have taken the Buddhist refuge vow and I'm a Buddhist practitioner. So what I'm trying to say is it's always been the undercurrent, right?
Yes.
In history. So I don't necessarily pull back and say, okay, let me grab this book or let me grab this knowledge. It's just like you said, it's been a part of me. And how I got on
And
that
all
path.
roads lead to that one divine source that has inspired your inspiration and affection for yoga.
100%. Yes, 100%. So to fully go back to your question, I believe just my understanding of the philosophy of the academia as well as the culture, because what got me there was high school. My high school was designated the English as a second language school, and it was primarily people of Southeast Asian heritage. So I was exposed to the culture in various classes and friends and clubs. So
Wow.
the richness of that now shows up as I'm trying to honor yoga more.
Yes.
Beyond the movement, beyond the poses that I had a great amount of experience in,
Yes.
to now really understanding, tapping back to history or language, or how China, Japan, India, Africa, a whole lot of blending of things, as well as dispersing of things, and just being able to see things in different lenses. Really not saying, nope, this is the only way, right?
Beautiful. As I say, all roads lead to one divine.
100%.
Okay, that's how I felt after my trip to India, because those were the things I took away. So we're saying the same thing. So as the co-director of the Yoga Retreat for Women of Color and a member of the You Call This Yoga Board of Directors, can you share some insights into the importance of diversity and inclusivity in the yoga community?
Of course, yes. So, co-director of the Yoga Retreat for Women of Color, my teacher, Maya Breuer, for over 25 years. I've been with Maya for the past 10 years, and typically there are 2 retreats a year. So for the past 10 years, 2 retreats, averaging 30 plus people. Prior to pandemic, we had an event with 108 people. But that experience in itself, we often get, it's not diverse because we are for women of color, and we'll get comments on the Kripalu page talking about, well, why can't we attend? And this,
yes, isn't that interesting?
still to this day, we'll get those comments.
Yes.
I think you saw on Kripalu's recent post, we got a comment of, the dancing looks like a lot of fun, but I don't see yoga going on.
Yes.
What's going on is how you kind of see it, interpret it. But what I get from the Women of Color retreat, as well as You Call This Yoga, is, I'll use the term safe space. And I have a program through You Call This Yoga called Safe Space. So for me, my lens right now is not of, hey, I'm represented at Kripalu because I'm a brown woman. That's not my lens. It's, wow, this space is needed for people of color to be able to connect to themselves, to heal, to open up their eyes to these other perspectives that will then allow them to go out into the more global, perspective.
Most definitely. And not just people of color, but yes, yoga has curves. So you were featured in that book, and so was I. And in Yoga Journal, could you share some memorable moments or experiences from your journey that have led to these recognitions?
It's all, I'll use the word divine, magical, just, I'm too young to write a memoir, an autobiography. And sometimes I feel like I should write the autobiography of a Black yogi, kind of like, Yogananda, because I have a chapter.
Well, you can write the chapter.
I have a chapter with Robin Downs, right? And I'll answer, yes, yoga has curves, all the way to Yoga Journal. During my first 200-hour teacher training, my teacher, Christine Colveri, had us do a research paper. It wasn't, a little 1-paragraph thing, like pages, font, type, all that. And someone in my training group turned around one day in class and said to me, why don't more Black people do yoga? And I honestly was like, why are you looking at at me. Honestly, at that point, I had never thought about race in my yoga space until this person mentioned it. So when she mentioned it, I then took that as the task. That became my research paper.
Oh, wow.
And
Right.
just by,
You gave me a copy of that paper.
I
Yes.
hope you still have it because
I still have it.
I need that because I don't have the
I
floppy
have the
anymore. And I was
too.
like, I should go back and update that paper. But this is how it happened, Robin. Okay, Google search, yoga and Black people. And what popped up? Maya Breuer, Robin Downs, Krishna Carr, John Along, the Iyengar teacher, I believe Kofi out in
Yes, he taught me my
California,
first
Shola, and Yasir popped up, right? And then after that, it was like, okay, Robin's closest, New York City. I'm from New York. So I started following Robin on social media and seeing Robin's work. And then Robin's at Summer Solstice in New York, like where all these people are doing yoga. And I'm like, I want to do that. I want to do that. And then I connected with Robin on my 40th birthday to come up to New York. And Robin curated this whole event at Times Square, up in Harlem, up in the park, right? So memories, community, right? So that's how that waved. Then I believe it was through you that I found out about Dana Smith and Yes, Yoga Has Curves, because you wrote the opening. No, that was Diane Bond. No, you wrote the opening.
I wrote the opening. I mean, the community was so small at that point anyway. We were all looking for each other. So,
yes.
So
that's how I found Dana. And then I want to give homage to Tamara Jeffries at Yoga Journal. Jeffries is a yoga teacher out of Greensboro, and Greensboro is my hometown. And I've met Tamara through Greensboro, through You Call This Yoga, and we taught for a virtual studio called Rise and Flow during the pandemic. And then Tamara got a job at Yoga Journal, and wanting to have representation of people, she reached out to me and said, you're a phenomenal teacher. I'd love for you to write an article. And that's how that happened. So the memories come from all these magical people that I meet. I want to circle back, Robin, to the trainings.
Okay.
The people I meet in the trainings are just like you. Like everyone has something phenomenal. Like they're just not like mediocre people. Like, you know, they have businesses, or they've, you know, gone crystal hunting, or been to the Appalachian Mountains and been to Dubai. Like everyone that comes into the space for the yoga, not for me, has a whole magical story in themselves. Beautiful. So just thinking of all of these resources, right? It's just, those are some of the great stories that I can share about the people I encounter.
That's so wonderful. And with the rise of virtual yoga classes, how do you adapt your teaching style to engage students through online platforms and maintain a sense of community? I guess we could use this to how that will happen at the yoga retreat for women of color as well. I know you've been really thinking about how to engage them virtually.
Yes, this coming retreat will be the first one that we do in person in Kripalu, as well as live stream for those that are watching virtually. And throughout the pandemic, as a lot of other yoga teachers really honed in on building community through this Zoom box and making connections. And that really started with the program I mentioned at the church. When the pandemic hit, we said, okay, we need to create space for our tribe at the church. And we started doing virtual classes. We're still doing virtual classes to this day. The classes might have a handful of people in them, but it's still supporting the community that we wanted to support, which is primarily our active adults, our active seniors that are either opting not to come out of the house, or they want to reach us, but now we're in spaces that we weren't at before, that are no longer accessible. And just through that whole Zoom, I'm a nosy body, like you got the little thing in the background so I can't see, but
did you see my dad walking back and forth?
I couldn't see him, but that's a part of it. That's a part of the building the connection, the community is, you know, I teach one virtual class, and that's intentional to stay connected with these people that we've been supporting. And it's at 6 a.m. on Tuesday. My youngest son goes to school 6:30. He'll come down the stairs. He'll walk to the camera. I'll give him a hug. I'll say, have a great day. My mother takes the class. He'll wave at grandma. So just creating that comfort zone for people to know, Like, yeah, there's scribble scrabble on my wall, right? It might look like a pristine space camera. You know, if I turn things around, it's crazy. So really just being me, being who I am, and trying to make things accessible, whether it's using the chat to communicate with someone or telling people it's okay to have your camera off, or actually enrolling people myself. So a lot of people for these classes, I know they're coming and I will type them in and register them to try to minimize the stress of
Yeah.
registering, receiving it, and then actually getting into the containers. So really still a lot of people connection to where I have one person, she'll text me and say, come pick up your money. Go pick up your money. I'm not sending you a check. I'm not doing PayPal. Come pick up your money. And I'll be like, I'll get there eventually. I trust you. I'll go pick up my money.
Right. People do have their, situations and issues and protocols and boundaries and everything. So many people find yoga to be a powerful tool for managing stress and improving mental well-being. What advice do you have for those individuals looking to incorporate yoga into their daily routines for these benefits? Well, you're talking about it. So is there anything else you can elaborate on?
Yeah, what I got from Maya during my second round of training was that seeing yoga in life, which I think is really what you say with yoga flavor, right? Seeing yoga in your life, whether it's in hip hop or whether it's sitting outside with your coffee and embracing the change of fall. So really incorporating it or finding it in your life. So I'm big story and example. I teach a yoga class at Bennett College, which is a historically Black college here in North Carolina, the Bennett Bells. It's for women. And we had class yesterday, and I asked them the question, how has yoga shown up in your life since we were last together? And it could have been an assignment we did. It could have been a commercial you saw on TV. How did yoga show up in your life? And one woman started talking, and she was like, well, I meditated, I prayed, drinking lime water, and I'm going to study group. That's what she said. And she said, I really don't think yoga showed up. And then she stopped herself and she said, that chart you gave us with those 8 things on it, meditation's a part of yoga. So yoga did show up, right? So helping people to identify what you're doing is yoga. We just don't have the label on it, right? And I think that's a shift, right? So yoga is yoga. Some people say there's a big yoga and a little yoga, how you define it. Yoga is yoga. And then we add these descriptors on it or these labels. So Robin's added flavor to it. Maya's added women of color to it, right? Some people have added goat to it, right? Or heat to it or yin to it. And we just add these adjectives that give the yoga the flavor based upon who we are, right? And what we have to offer. And then that's how, I don't want to say the right people, but the people that need to hear it from a different perspective can further get connected to it. So finding yoga in everyday life. Now that seems big. So the simple thing would be maybe 3 minutes, or it's 3 minutes of sitting down, just doing nothing. I'm just going to sit for 3 minutes and not multitask, not flip the channel, not think about cooking. I'm just going to sit for 3 minutes. Or I'm going to move my body, whether it is dancing or that little stretch I saw them do, right? 3 minutes. One of the best advices I got from someone was play a song for 3 minutes and let that be your practice, whether you move, breathe, or just listen to the music.
Wow.
So take it in a little chunk and then let it expand on its own from there.
Yeah, the consciousness, the consciousness of it all. And so with all this going on, you touched on it, but in your role as mother and wife, how do you find the balance between your personal life and your professional commitments in the yoga world?
So with the yoga, it was, the tribe. And then family, it's my family tribe too. My mother, she practices yoga. She's a trained yoga teacher. She teaches for the nonprofit that I'm president of. You Call This Yoga. So me and her, we talk yoga almost every day.
Business, lovely. And you were just saying how you're celebrating your son's birthday today.
Yes. If you go to my newly updated website, iamyogaclt.life, you'll see a picture of my son Elijah doing a handstand. And when I have trainings and I need someone to be a demo, Elijah will get on the mat and become a demo. My husband, he gets really, really, really big props because when I said 12 some odd years ago that I was leaving corporate, he didn't hesitate. And after the first year, I remember him saying, "You're a completely different person." I was like,
Wow.
"What you talking about? I'm the same person." But if I think about it, not having a BlackBerry, not having a phone, not working 40 plus hours, plus cooking, cleaning, taking care of these two kids, and being the sex goddess that I'm supposed to be, I didn't have time for that. I'm tired, I'm mad, all of that. But not having those cares, creates a big difference. So he has been very, very supportive on this, especially as I've been traveling a lot more with retreats and, tending to the kids and just tending to anything that kind of needs to go on. So he's happy because I'm happy. So I always tell people, don't quit your jobs, right? Still have someone that can pay the bills and be supportive.
Someone.
Um,
No, I hear you. Hey, thank you, Jack. um, and what I have felt, and it's interesting, you're talking about your role as wife and everything, is yoga has brought up, there's a lot of talk these days about feminine energy. And I think in modern society and the young women coming up being, bosses, the challenge of that feminine energy, especially with yin yoga, I know that that helps to support the all and mighty, powerful feminine energy.
Wait, Robin, I love you said that. So yes, yin, but that goes back to my tribe. Because in my house, it's me, Toby 21, Elijah 17, and my husband. So
Mm.
most of the time, I get the masculine energy. And my husband's from Newark, New Jersey. And when a tear starts to crumble down my eye, he's like, "Fix it, let's do it, XYZ," right? No, that's cool because he serves his space.
Right.
I go to my tribe to put my head on their shoulder, for
Okay.
them to rub my hair, for them to put the crystals around me, for them to let me cry, for them to say, "Okay, now what's the plan? How are we going to tend to ourselves?" So that feminine does pop up
And
because
that's why we're having the yoga retreat for women of color, the power of the
yes,
feminine energy
yes,
for
yes.
women of color.
You got it.
Okay, so what upcoming projects or initiatives are you excited about, both in your personal yoga journey and with the organization that you're a part of? Just what are you excited about?
Excited.
For the future, yeah, with these future projects, what's happening? I know yoga retreat for women of color. You can speak about that, but I know you got a lot upcoming, so talk about it.
And that's something you taught me a long time ago. I keep telling you, you were the one that got me to create an Instagram account. Yes. I don't like to promote. I don't like to promote. Um, I I'm very grateful. I'm very blessed. Sometimes I use the term like I move with spirit,
Mm.
right? And there was nothing in my head that said become co-director of the yoga retreat for women of color. One day, my teacher tapped me on the shoulder and said, "I'd love for you to support me with keeping this legacy going." What did I do? I said, "Okay, yes, Maya, I will." And there's really no end goal in my head for all these things that are going on. But seeds get planted and these things are blooming. So I acknowledge that. All right, if I'm gonna go out there on a limb and say it verbally, um, I, I'm writing. I'm writing. I don't know what this writing is, if it's for others, if it's for myself, but I'm excited to. That's what I'm excited to. I'm about to go to Kripalu for like 2 weeks. Yoga retreat for women of color, then a chair yoga training, then a yin training that Candace and I are doing. So I'm going to be gone for like almost 2 weeks. And you know how it is at Kripalu, to be away, to be eating well, to have space to meditate and breathe. And I'm looking forward to writing during that time because
Beautiful.
I haven't found time to do writing with everything else that we've already talked about. So I'm excited about that.
Okay. I appreciate that. And I feel that writing is really being open to spirit flowing through you. And I'm excited for you with that process. So, in closing, what else would you like to say about the yoga retreat for women of color?
The yoga retreat for women of color. If you've never been before, think of it as a family reunion where you get to connect to people instantly. Aunties, cousins, grandmas, sisters, cousin you don't like, all of it shows up in the mix. But it really is a phenomenal time for the short amount of time that we're together. The travel to Kapalo is worth it. The land is beautiful, the space is beautiful, and it really is just an opportunity to let go, to be, to receive, and then hopefully come off the mountain feeling a little rejuvenated to go back into your life, into your space. And even though we do have this retreat twice a year, each retreat is different. It's curated with a specific theme, and the presenters that we select, they come and bring, quote unquote, the flavor to each retreat, making it a unique experience.
Maya spoke about the theme, Let's Dance. What does that mean to you?
What that means to me is Maya likes to dance. So the July retreat was called Tea Time Conversations. Kiesha chose that. Let's have some tea time conversations. Let's talk about it. Maya selected this one. Oh no, let's dance. And a part of the yoga retreat for women of color, there's always a presenter that offers some type of dance. This time it's Sata Jala. And there's always a dancing evening. I won't spoil it for folks, but we have a dance-off evening. And I always look at that as Maya wants to be with her girlfriends and have fun and get her boogie on. So that's what Let's Dance means. Maya said, okay, we had your little tea chat in the summer. I want to move and shake my thing, as you saw in that video. That's what that means, Robin. That's that means.
I love that I asked you that question. And with that, thank you, Kiesha, for joining me today. And I so look forward to dancing with you at the yoga retreat for women of color. Namaste.
Thank you, Robin.